Hello, hello. What's going on? How is your Monday going? Is it Monday? Am I right about that? It looks like my sound is working. That's good. Did you guys know that a whole bunch of platforms went down? I think at like 3 a.m. today. I think they've been back up, but it is something that I've been expecting. And I've been trying to communicate that to my viewers without doing like a fear mongering type of thing, but just to be ready for it, to be ready for brownouts and blackouts and um, water that's not clean or water that doesn't work at all. Anyway, let me go ahead and get started. I have this weird lighting thing. You see, like, my neck is glowing. I've got this yellow light down here that is kind of weird. Is it spooky? I don't know what to do with it. What shall I do with it? Shall I do nothing? Should I just not worry about it? I can maybe turn these up, but then that might just make it way too yellow. I don't know. Let's see. Am I too yellow now? Like Yellow Man? Do you remember that guy? He was a good musician, but he was a jackass. Just like El Presidente. Did you guys hear yesterday when he was berating this female? Of course, he doesn't berate very many males, but a reporter who had the audacity of asking him about all the money that he's sending to Argentina. And I think she had the audacity to say something like, don't we need that money here for healthcare or other things, soybean farmer subsidies or something? And he was like, Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't understand that. It's like he couldn't have sounded like more of a sexist pig, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. Okay, everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All of my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. This is really bothering me, this like yellow light on my throat. Let me clear my throat. I don't know what I can do with it to improve it. This is the stuff I try to have all figured out before I come on, but there's just no end to it. My goodness, no end to it, I tell you. Oh, the stress of trying to be a YouTuber. It is cool, but it is crazy too. Is that better? I feel like that's better because my neck is not glowing gold like I'm some kind of national treasure movie thing starring Nicolas Cage and the snake eyes, right? We haven't talked about that in a few days. Okay. Let me turn that light back down. I don't like it when it gets washed out, but then I don't want it to be not washed out enough, right? Is that good? Should I stop? There. Okay, I'm stopping. Stop the insanity. Okay, hit your like button if you don't mind. I want to get right into some Virginia Giuffre stuff. Her book is going to be available tomorrow, which I can barely hold on for another day. I've been holding my breath for this book to be released for a long time. Make sure that you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, there's my sign. And if you're not, please consider doing so. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel. Turn on your notification bell to ring. And let's just get rolling here. I've printed out the last page of Virginia's first manuscript, since I can't wait. And her first manuscript was not technically published. It's called The Billionaire's Playboy Club, and maybe you've heard of it because in the lost excuse me, I bit my tongue, in the lawsuit with, I think it was the lawsuit with Jizz, and then again the lawsuit with Alan D, the Harvard law professor. I think in both of those lawsuits, the manuscript was entered as an exhibit for evidence. So it's sort of been published in a roundabout way through that. And so you can download it on the internet. But it's about 142 pages, I think. I was thinking of just like reading the first page to you guys, and maybe like the last page. I think I've shared this with you before. Sometimes the way I read books and magazines is I start at the back. I'm one of those weirdos. I just can't help it. I've been like that my whole life. So let me start by looking up or reading to you Virginia Giuffre. Giuffre, I think is how you spell it. Yeah. So she was born August 9th, 1983, on my 16th birthday, which there's just so much information. It wasn't until today, when I was this many days old, that I realized, and I've thought about it before, but it's never really like struck me the way it did. Little E's day of passing away was the day after her birthday. It was August 10th of 2019. So did her birthday have anything to do with it? I kind of doubt it, but maybe. I mean, it might have been kind of like a vengeful kind of, just trying to stab her in the heart, because when you've been victimized and your perpetrator is finally maybe going to see some justice, it's pretty heartbreaking to have that come to a screeching halt, right? Anyway, so let me just read you some quick facts about Virginia, because I don't think enough people know enough about her. And I think that her passing away on April 25th of this year, I'm one of the few people that I know of that will say, I think she was Epsteined. I don't think that she Epsteined herself. I think she was Epsteined by another. But anyway, that's just me and my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. So she was an American and an Australian advocate of justice for survivors of transporting. There's Coco knocking on the door. One of the most prominent and vocal accusers. Come on, baby. Which I think is very relevant, since all this stuff is coming to a head, right? And if she was around, just think the amount of trouble that she could cause for these scum. One of the most prominent and vocal accusers of the child Rex offender, Little E, Giuffre, I think it's Giuffre, created Victims Refuse Silence, a nonprofit organization in the U.S. in 2015, which was relaunched under the name Speak Out, Act, Reclaim, SOAR, in November of 2021. She gave a detailed account to many American and British reporters about her experiences of being transported by Little E and Jizz. So my braces have been really bad lately. I feel like my gums are bleeding, and so I do get to go to the orthodontist tomorrow to see if they can do anything to help me out. They better be able to. I can't live like this. It's crazy. It is nuts. Anyway, born in Sacramento, passed away in Australia, dual citizenship. Anna Bees, how's it going, my friend? How are you today? So lovely to see you. Is it a day off Or do you work tonight? Did you work last night? Sorry you're going through that, Jazz. Oh, you're so kind. I am so grateful to be getting my teeth straightened, because I had this big gap. The gap is completely gone, but then, it's like the domino effect. They have to like shift everything around to make sure it's all good. But yeah, I've only had them for like 2 or 3 months, and the gap is completely gone. And that gap had been bothering me for a long time. And then my doctor thought that it was going to cause me medical problems, which it very well might be what was causing me vertigo for the last year. So we'll see. In fact, I haven't had any vertigo symptoms since I've had the braces. So maybe it's already resolved that. Yes, you're off. Yay. And look for your little package in the mail today. It will probably be, certainly it'll be this week. It should be so soon. I mean, we're only a couple states away from each other, for crying out loud. So Virginia is known for being an advocate of justice for transportation survivors, and her spouse, she was still married at the time of her passing, Robert. They were married in 2002 when she was 19 and separated in 2024, but not technically divorced yet. Virginia pursued criminal and civil actions against Little E and Jiz and appealed directly to the public for justice and awareness. She sued Jiz for defamation in 2015, and the case was settled in Giuffre's favor for an undisclosed sum in 2017. On July 2nd, 2019, the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit ordered the unsealing of documents from the earlier civil suit by Giuffre against Maxwell. The first batch of documents from Giuffre's suit were released to the public on August 9th, 2019, further implicating Little E, Jiz, and a number of their associates. The following day, Little E was found deceased in his Manhattan prison cell. Oh, the first batch of documents from her suit were released on her birthday, August 9th of 2019. What a coinky dink, huh? Today is my oldest grandson's 13th birthday. He's living in the Southwest since July, and it's killing me not to be there for his birthday. We have a very close bond. Oh, I'm so sorry, my dear. I hope that you can FaceTime him. How cute, a little teenager, a tween. My youngest kid is 13. Yeah, that's right. You had your first kid really young. And I had my kids really old. So, well, I'm really happy that he's doing well. I take it, since you didn't say that he's not. My grandmother used to always say, no news is good news. And man, was she right. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see. So yeah, on her birthday, the following day, Little E was found deceased in his Manhattan prison cell. In an October 2019 interview for BBC's Panorama, aired on December 2nd, Giuffre described her experiences of being Rex transported by Little E in Britain's Prince Andrew. Oh, he doesn't like it there? Is it too hot for him in the Southwest? It would be way too hot for me. Where about, if you want to say like what state or what city, if you want to share. I hope he's not living in Needles. Is that Needles, Arizona? That's like the hottest place on earth. Thus the name Needles. I think it's Arizona, somewhere around there. I've been through it at midnight, and it is still 100 degrees at midnight. Okay, let's see. Because, yeah, when you're driving through there, you kind of have to wait until midnight because it's like 120 during the day and your car would explode. People are very rude there. I don't want to say because of the YouTube peoples. Oh, totally understandable, Anna Bees, I know. it's sad that we have to be so cautious, but yeah, it only takes one complete wingnut to ruin it for everybody. And unfortunately, there are complete wingnuts out there. Sad, isn't it? Let's see. Prince Andrew, which resulted in public opinion shifting against the prince. So the fact that the prince has been like demoted further recently tells me that there's some really bad stuff in these files that is, even if they're never released, I mean, I do think that they might get released at this point, but even if they're never released, the more Tenacious D freaks out, the worse he makes it look for himself. It's like he's telling us, like without saying it, basically. She subsequently sued the prince in civil court in New York City. The suit was settled in February 2022, with Prince Andrew paying an undisclosed amount to Virginia. I think 12 million is the minimum that he probably paid her, and possibly up to as many as 19 million. Not chump change for sure. And then she's going to unalive herself 2 years later. Right. No, it was the royals as much as it was the Harvard attorney and Tenacious D thugs that took her out, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion. Okay. And making a substantial donation to her charity. She passed April of 2025. And remember how telling it was the very next day, because she passed on the 25th, I think, and then it was the 26th when a reporter asked Tenacious D on the tarmac what he thought about Virginia Giuffre and what had happened. And he didn't say who, what, I don't know anything about it. He immediately said, oh, yeah, it's horrible what happened to her and all the others like her. He knew exactly who she was. And maybe he shouldn't have. Maybe he was giving himself away with that. You know what? I know it's annoying when I fiddle with my set, but I'm going to real quick. My chakra tower is out of alignment. So annoying. There, all fixed. Good enough. And I'm wearing a mini skirt, which I try not to wear when I'm on live, just because I try really hard not to show skin. I'm sure it doesn't bother people. Probably quite the opposite, but it bothers me. I like to be a little modest, at least on the tube, right? But yeah, in real life too. Yes, I agree. The prince's title being demoted is a big deal. There is something really bad in those files. And also Paul Manafort, the appointee of the prime minister, who had his title that he had just been appointed to stripped away like a day or two later. Remember that a few weeks ago? We can't have chakras out of line. I know, exactly. And sometimes they get out of line. So, I mean, I really do find my set soothing when I'm here talking with you about these treacherous things. Let's see. Where's my thing that I was reading? It wasn't my book. It wasn't my paper. It was my phone. So let's just read a little bit more about Virginia's early life. Born in Virginia Louise Roberts in Sacramento, California, August 9th, 1983, to Sky William Roberts and Lynn Trudy Cabell. She had two stepbrothers, Sky and Daniel. The family relocated to a part of Palm Beach County that I can't really say. LOX Lahatchee, Laxahatchee. I'll just stick with that. It's a good old college try, right? Oh, you're so nice. Your set is beautiful. I love it. And of course I rearranged it last night, as you can see, constantly rearranging it. That's therapy for me too. It's like I'm grooming it, to use that word in a positive way. Okay, let's keep going with this. So they moved to Palm Beach County when she was 4 years old. It was reported that she had come from a troubled home and from the age of 7 was molested by a close family friend. Although it might be her stepdad, allegedly. I mean, actually, no, her blood dad. It might be that guy, Sky. Sky William Roberts, allegedly. Molested by a close family friend. I was just so mentally scared already at such a young age. I ran away from that, she said on Panorama in 2019. Giuffre told the Miami Herald that she went from being in an abusive situation to being a runaway to living in foster homes. She lived on the streets at age 14, where she says she found only hunger and pain and more abuse. So it's only recently that I've heard that it was actually her father, not a family friend, that was her abuser when she was 7. So that really truly is an allegation. I don't know that that's true, but it is consistent with the fact that he dropped her off at Little E's mansion, I think on more than one occasion. And, you know, he might have been benefiting financially from that. I don't know. Oh my goodness. And then there's that 9-year-old girl in California who's been missing for a year that sounds like she's either not alive anymore or maybe being trafficked. I love the tree painting. I'm into painting trees. Oh, I'm so glad that you like it. I actually did that tree in my one of my very last yoga workshop things. And yeah, I think it's pencil. Is it? No, it's pen. It's actually like Sharpie pen. Virginia went through so much. There's no way she did away with herself. Actually, it's multimedia. Now that I think of it, there's crayon. I can't say words. I've always had trouble with like a speech impediment, and then I have braces. When I had kind of resolved my speech impediment growing up. Let's see, where was I? Being a runaway, living in foster home. She lived on the streets at age 14, where she says she found only hunger, pain, and more abuse. Later, she was abused by a Rex transporter, Ron Eppinger, who also has been abstained. And I want to look that up real quick and see when he was abstained. Or actually, let me just write it down so I don't forget to do it. Because he was in Miami, and Donnie tries to say, well, that's evidence that he didn't know him because that's 45 minutes away from Mar-a-Lago. And yeah, right. Because, yeah, it's impossible to know people in the same line of business that are like 45 whole minutes away. Right. He also had a modeling agency as a front for his transporting. So they very likely knew each other. And he may have very well tipped off Jiz that she was his property prior, and so Jiz knew that she would be primed for her and Little E to mess with, because I'm sure you guys all know this, perps love people that have been victimized before because they're disgusting and it makes it easier Virginia went through so much. There's no way exactly, especially after she got all the millions of dollars. And then that whole thing with the weird post that she made like a month or two before she passed away, where she said she was going to be deceased in 4 days, and the weird getting hit by a school bus story. Like, that to me was a hostage type of situation. That was my first thought when I saw the weird bruising, because even the bruising didn't look right. And I thought, she's being forced to put that photo up and make that weird post to prime the ground for her to be passed away, and for people to go, oh yeah, see, she said she was going to be passed away. So it was a natural, accidental, self-inflicted misadventure. Again, as usual. Okay, back to this. So later she lived with the abuser Eppinger in Miami. She lived with him for approximately 6 months, was getting turned out by. It's terrible to say lived with. Held captive. Like, come on, Wikipedia. Gross. If you can get in there and edit it, Anna Bees, since they put me on restriction. I don't think I've ever edited a Wikipedia in my life, and I was looking at one yesterday. You were here in the live, and I was thinking about putting a little edit in there, and it said that I was on like non-edit restriction for the next 12 months by Elton. Elton did it. Was it Elton or Elvis? One of the two. Anyway, Eppinger reportedly ran a front business for international wrecks transporting known as the modeling agency Perfect 10. He was raided by the FBI and later pleaded guilty to charges of alien smuggling for prostitution, interstate travel for prostitution, and money laundering. The same things as Diddy, basically, and R. Kelly, and Little E was charged with some of that stuff, when he got the slap on the wrist in 2008. Rex racketing is all connected. Have you ever watched the first True Detective series? It has Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson in it. I have not, but I will. It has to do with that subject. I don't think I have first True Detective series. But yeah, it's a whole network. It's a global network. It's all connected. Thanks for that comment too. I know I spelled Matthew's last name wrong. Close enough. I knew who you meant. Let's see. At the age of 14, Virginia reunited with her father and returned to live with him. If he was the abuser, how terrible for her to go like from the fire to the frying pan and then back into the fire. Her father worked as a maintenance manager at the Mar-a-Lago property owned by DJT and helped Virginia obtain a job there. She attended Royal Palm Beach High School. I bet she didn't graduate, though, because it never says that she graduated. It just says she attended. And yeah, kind of hard to get homework done when you're being transported. Mother effers, man. Okay. Association with Little E was from 2000 to 2002. In mid-2000, Gouffre met Jiz. So mid-2000, it was when she was still 16. Her birthday, August 9th, was when she was going to turn 17, and it was before that. Sometimes they say a month before she turned 17, but I think that they get fuzzy with the math because they're trying to say, so close to 18, right? And I suspect that she could have been younger, but let's just go with 16 since that's what they say. But they try to say 17, but no, she was still 16. back on track here. She met Jiz when working as a spa attendant at DJT's private Mar-a-Lago club while reading a book about massage therapy. Max Jiz, a British socialite and daughter of the late media tycoon Robert Maxwell, approached Virginia, noted the book she was reading, inquired about her interest in massage, offered her a potential job working for Little E's, traveling masseuse, with the assurance that no experience was necessary. You can just drop out of high school right now. And OMG. Yeah. Terrible. The towel girl, the spa people, the stolen spa people. I don't care if they're spa or not spa. I don't want him stealing my slaves. I mean, people. Okay. That was a quote from our president. Lovely. That was wild when he admitted to all of that. You know, it's like he's such a lying sack of garbage, and then he slips and tells the truth. Terrible, isn't it, when you slip and tell the truth? All right. When Virginia arrived at Little E's Palm Beach home, she says he was laying down unclothed, and Jiz told her how to massage him. They seemed like nice people, so I trusted them, and I told them I'd had a really hard time in my life up until then. I'd been a runaway. I'd been abused physically and otherwise. That was the worst thing I could have told them, because now they knew how vulnerable I was, Virginia stated. She also stated that after Jiz introduced her to Jeffrey, the two quickly began grooming her to provide Rex services under the guise that she was to be trained as a professional massage therapist. It was so normalized for older men to hit on teens when I was growing up. Just listen to some of the songs in the 80s. I know, Anna, you and I are very close to the same age, and same. I grew up a lot of my tween years and early teens in Southern California, and I got hit on by 50-year-olds every so often. I'm really lucky I got out of it. I mean, I've told you situations like, even with I don't like to say people's names, but I will, because Warren Beatty, complete dirtbag, put his hands on me when I was 12, but didn't go any further than that. He was having a pool party, and I was friends with his kids, and I just got very uncomfortable and got up and left. But yeah, he wasn't the only one that did crap like that. Gross. Like I babysat, and one of the dads that I babysat for when I moved to Ohio called me up and tried to get me to come and move in with him, because he was divorcing his wife because she'd turned 26, and so she aged out. I'm not kidding. He was a lot older than her. He was like a football star from USC, and just a disgusting piece of crap and completely gross. Anyway, he called me when I was in Ohio in high school to try to get me to move in with him. And he had a Ferrari and a Maserati, and he was like telling me that I could drive them both, and that, you know, he thought that would like get me on an airplane. God. Gross. Okay. I've heard that about Warren Beatty. Yeah, I mean, we all remember him and Madonna early in her career. I can't remember if it was before or after she married Sean Penn. I think it was after. Okay, let's see. Between 2000 and 2002, Virginia was closely associated with Little E and Jiz, traveling between Little E's residences in Palm Beach and Manhattan. I mean, she must have been so starstruck with all the money after the poverty that she'd lived in, being homeless on the streets. And the rest of it. With additional trips to Little E's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico and private island Little St. James in the Miami Herald's investigative journalism series Perversion of Justice, Virginia describes her experiences as being transported by Little E to provide massages and rec services for him and a number of his business associates over a 2.5-year period. In her interview with the BBC, Virginia said she was passed around like a platter of fruit to Epstein's powerful associates and taken around the world on private jets. So I used a photograph of her for my thumbnail that I had never seen until like today or yesterday. And I'm trying to remember the video that I screenshot that from so that I can give them credit. I think it was kind of just like a news channel, like maybe BBC News, that was talking about her book being released tomorrow. I think it was BBC News, but I'll double check. Of the instance in March 2001 that Virginia was allegedly trafficked to Prince Andrew, she stated in an interview that it was a wicked and really scary time in her life and that she couldn't comprehend how in the highest level of government, powerful people were allowing this to happen. Not just allowing it, but participating in it. After visiting a nightclub, Virginia says Jiz told her that she had to do for Andrew what I do for Little E. In court documents from a civil suit that were released from Seal in 19, Virginia named several others she claims Little E and Jiz instructed her to have Rex with, including hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin, attorney Alan Dershowitz, politician Bill Richardson, MIT scientist Marvin Minsky, lawyer George J. Michael, and MC2 modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel. And I'm pretty sure she said the Trumpster Fire's name in there too, but then she said, oh no, I must have confused him with someone else. No, that's what she said about Alan Dershowitz. I must have confused him with someone else. But then with Tenacious D, she said, I don't remember. I don't remember. Many of the men denied her allegations. In September 2002, at the age of 19, Virginia flew to Thailand to attend international training massage school, and Jiz provided her with tickets to travel to Thailand and instructed her to meet with a specific Thai girl and to bring her back to the U.S. for Little E. While at the massage school in Thailand in 2002, she met Robert Dufresne, an Australian martial arts trainer, and the two married quickly thereafter. There are some people who think that he was her handler, that he was like, it was a setup. She contacted Little E and informed him that she would not be returning as planned. She and her husband started a life and family in Australia, and Dufresne broke off contact with Little E and Jiz. For 5 years, Dufresne and her husband lived a quiet life in Australia with their young children. OMG, don't even talk about babysitting. The dads always make a move driving you home. Yeah, that one that I mentioned did like plant a big wet kiss on me one time, and I was like so vomit-worthy disgusted. And I was 14. I can understand how Virginia got into that world. I heard that also about Virginia's husband. Well, and it makes sense. I mean, these people, they wrap it up tight. They're not going to have loose ends. They're not going to let one get away. You know, she'd kind of aged out because she was 19 and they only liked them when they were jailbait, right? And they just needed to keep a close eye on her so that she wouldn't do what she did. They probably identified her as a feisty one, don't you think? I mean, she was a feisty one to do what she did and to have survived what she survived. First contact by authorities. In March '05, while Virginia was still establishing her family in Australia, the Palm Beach Police Department began investigating little E after a 14-year-old and her parents reported his behavior. The girl described being recruited by a female classmate from her high school to give little E a massage at his mansion in exchange for money, wherein he subsequently molested her. By October '05, the police had a growing list of girls with similar claims of abuse and statements from little E's butlers corroborating their claims, and a search warrant for his Palm Beach property. And see, this is a connection that you might know, Anna Bees. I've talked about it once or twice. Jimmy Kimmel, who I'm a huge fan of, and I think he's a really good truth teller. He's best friends, allegedly, with a chef, and they were like co-owners of a restaurant, but this chef was little E's private chef, even on the Pedo Island. And I forget the guy's name. I want to say it's Adam or something like that. Easy enough to look it up. But he claims that he didn't know any abuse was happening, and he's best friends with Jimmy Kimmel. You would think Jimmy Kimmel would like smack him around until he fessed up and told the truth, right? But that's where it's just so twisted with, the heroes and the bad guys. Because I think of Jimmy Kimmel as a hero, but then he's like best friends with a guy who's a douchebag and business partners with a guy who's a douchebag. Just gross. And even Virginia said this guy was really nice, that he like was friendly with her and would like give her extra food because Jiz and little E were very skimpy with the food for the their little Rex slaves, because they wanted to keep them skinny and looking prepubescent if possible. Let's see. So normalized to be a predator. You would think Jimmy Kimmel would. You really would. You really would. But then you can't control other people, right? But yeah, you'd think he would cut him off. And maybe he has. Maybe they just don't even talk about it. At this point in time, especially after what he's been through with the dear leader. So the statements from little E's butlers corroborating their claims in a search warrant for his Palm Beach property. Police detectives noted that all accusers are described. Let me start over. Police detectives noted that the accusers all described a similar pattern where little E would ask them to massage him and then sexually assault them during the massage. And law enforcement searched through little E's trash. They found notes with the telephone numbers of the girls on them. One of the girls was called by little E's assistant while being questioned by the police. One of the girls was called while they were questioning the girl. Whoa. Jiz told the Miami Herald that she received a series of phone calls in rapid succession over 3 days in '07. The first call was from Maxwell. Then 1 day later came a call from little E, both of whom asked if she had spoken to authorities. These were followed by a third call from an FBI agent who stated that Virginia had been identified as a victim during the first criminal case against little E. She resisted speaking at length to the feds until she was approached again about the matter in person, this time by the Australian Federal Police 6 months after being contacted by phone. Photos, records, and witnesses confirm large parts of her statements about her time with little E. So I want to read a little bit more about like the legal proceedings, just so that there's some clarity. First criminal case against little E. In '06, a year before Gouffre was first contacted by authorities, the Palm Beach Police Department had a growing body of evidence against little E and signed a probable cause affidavit, the PCA, charging him with multiple counts of unlawful Rex acts with a minor. Little E hired a team of powerful lawyers, including accused abuser Alan Dershowitz, Jack Goldberger, Ken Starr, and Jay Lefkowitz. I can't say that name. Lefkowitz. To serve in his defense. As the case progressed, Police Chief Michael Ritter became alarmed at the handling of the case by state prosecutors. And then State Attorney Barry Krishner. A lot of these people have passed away, I do believe. Let me keep going now. On May 1st, 2006, Ritter asked Barry Krischer, to remove himself from the case. When Krischer declined, Police Chief Ritter turned his evidence over to the FBI for federal prosecution. While Ritter was initially hopeful that the feds would thoroughly investigate and move the matter to a conclusion, in 2007, then South Florida U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he needs to get grilled, decided not to prosecute Little E in federal court and referred the matter back to the local jurisdiction. Lead police detective Joseph Rickeri said that the state prosecutors were at first eager to pursue criminal action against Little E, but that everything took a turn when Alan Dershowitz got involved because he was a guilty party, in my opinion. Krishner, or not, there's no N in there, it's just Krischer, then decided to take the unusual action of turning Little E's case over to a grand jury, then presented testimony from only one girl. I think they had 40. I'm pretty sure it was 40. Somewhere in there, give or take 20 to 60. So we'll just go with 40. Little E's legal team aggressively sought concessions and prolonged the process when negotiating a plea deal with Acosta. Acosta, who described the tactics of Little E's lawyers as a year-long assault on the prosecution and prosecutors, eventually agreed to sign a controversial non-prosecution agreement in 2008, which was done without informing the victims, which is illegal, and they need to clean that crap up. That needs to get sorted out. That needs to get refiled. Later determined to be in violation of the Crime Victims' Rights Act. Ritter expressed that the state and federal prosecutors' handling of the Little E case amounted to, quote, the worst failure of the criminal justice system, end quote, in modern times. And I would agree. Or one of the worst that we know of, right? Crime Victims' Rights Act lawsuit, 2008 to 2019. So this is the next step. In 2008, a lawsuit, Jane Doe versus USA, was filed by Bradley Edwards and Paul G. Cassell that accused the U.S. Justice Department of violating the Crime Victims' Rights Act during the first criminal case against Little E by failing to allow several of his victims to challenge his plea deal. Little E sued Bradley Edwards for civil racketeering, but later dropped his suit. Edwards countersued for malicious prosecution, with the result that Epstein issued a public apology to the lawyer and settled the case for an undisclosed sum in December 2018. Edwards, who represents several Epstein accusers in addition to Virginia, reportedly settled in aid of his clients, whose greatest wish was to pursue their larger objective of having their allegations heard in a federal court in order to overturn the non-prosecution agreement. Edwards stated that they're willing to talk, they want to share their stories. This was part of their healing. Yeah, MFs. It was really such a criminal act to bury this case and give Little E such a slap on the wrist. Well, and it was obviously to protect like all of the other Bebe and Daddy Vladdy and their lapdog, you know who I'm talking about, dear leader lapdog. In February 2019, ruling district judge Kenneth Marr determined that prosecutors had violated victims' rights as defined by the Crime Victims' Rights Act. So it took 11 years. 11 freaking years. And during that time, 2011 to 2019 is when Pamela Bondi was the AG for the state of Florida. I don't know what her job was prior to 2011, and I believe her job from 2019 up until 2025 was working with Qatari for 6 figures a month, right? Or Qatar, however you say it. Working with Qatar, the Qatari people. Victim civil suit. Oh my God, that freaking Air Force Base idea in Idaho. Like, that's insane. That's like having, I can't even wrap my mind around it. But yeah, it's like having your enemies have an Air Force Base in the middle of your country. Right. Great idea. They say it's not happening, but you know they lie. They say it is. They say it isn't. I think Hegseth said it was, and then Vance came in and tried to clean it up and said, oh, no, that was a misunderstanding. Right. Freaks, man. Lock them up. Okay, victim civil suit. In May 2009, Virginia filed a lawsuit as Jane Doe 102 against Little E and accused Jiz of recruiting her to a life of being transported while she was a minor. By late 2009, dozens of Little E's victims had filed civil lawsuits against him. All suits were settled for undisclosed amounts. And then, of course, the NDAs go hand in hand with that. They're all criminals. Acosta and Alan D. belong in prison. Well, and all the ones who have dropped and are now 6 feet under. Like, what was his name? Roy Black, the guy that just passed away a few months ago. We know John Luke Brunel was, I think, a few months before Ivana. Ivana. It's so confusing. Ivana's the mom. Ivanka's the daughter. So a few months before Ivana. Let's see. All suits were settled. In January 22, unsealed documents revealed that the settlement amount in the 2009 case entitled Jane Doe number 102 versus Little E, the settlement was $500,000, equivalent to $750,000 now, and other unspecified valuable consideration. Virginia credited the birth of her daughter on January 7th, 2010 as the date she decided to come forward publicly and begin speaking about her experiences of abuse and transporting despite the risks. The risk being getting Epsteined, right? I mean, she was very afraid of that happening for a very long time. You don't have to be a freaking rocket scientist or a psychic to know that, right? They all are. Vanity Fair stated that Giuffre's story was first publicized in March 11 by the Mail on Sunday. The coverage included the photo showing Prince Andrew with his arm around her at Jiz's house in London. The feds again made contact with her, this time at the U.S. consulate in Sydney in 2011. Soon after, she went public with allegations about Little E. In December 2014, Virginia set up the framework for her organization, Victims Refuse Silence. It was registered as a 501 C3 nonprofit organization in 2015. The objective of Victims Refuse Silence is to help survivors surmount the shame, silence, and intimidation typically experienced by victims of SA, and to help others to escape becoming victims of transporting. For her organization, Virginia used the imagery of a blue butterfly to symbolize the transformation and empowerment that occurs when a victim becomes a survivor. Blue is the international color of human transporting awareness. I did not know that. Thus my set, huh? The U.S. has designated January as Human Transporting Awareness Month, with January 11th listed as the National Wear Blue Day. Dufresne's charity was launched in November of 21 under the name Speak Out Act Reclaim. So I wonder if that January 11th has anything to do with her first daughter's birthday. Wasn't that January 10th? December 14, Florida court filing intended for inclusion in the 2008 Crime Victims' Right lawsuit. Virginia described being transported to Prince Andrew, Duke of York, at least 3 times when she was 17 in 2001 for rape. She claimed that little E and Jiz took her to Tramp nightclub in London. How apropos. Where she met and danced with Andrew, and that later that night, while en route to Jiz's residence, Jiz instructed Virginia to do for Prince Andrew what you do for little E. She alleged little E paid her $15,000 after she had relations with the Duke in London. A photo that shows Virginia, Prince Andrew, and Maxwell in Maxwell's apartment has been widely circulated since 2011, and he still denies it, as does Jiz. Oh, it's photoshopped. Prince Andrew's 10-year role as a UK trade envoy was terminated in July 2011, and he reportedly cut all ties with little E. Maxwell, Jiz, while serving her prison sentence, stated to several interviewers that she believed the photograph was fake. Following the allegations, the Mail on Sunday, which first published the photograph in 2011, was contacted by photographer Michael Thomas, who took 39 copies of it front and back. The back of the photo has a timestamp showing it was developed on March 13th, 2001, 3 days after Andrew allegedly engaged in intimate relations with her. It was printed at a 1-hour photo lab at Walgreens in Florida near Virginia's former home. Oh, right. It was her film. It was her camera. Little E took the picture. But yeah, back in the old days when we had to take our film to the 1-hour photo labs at Walgreens, right? The second intimate violating type of encounter with Andrew allegedly happened in Little E's New York mansion. In court documents, Virginia claimed that the third encounter with Prince Andrew was an orgy on Little St. James that involved her, several underage girls from Eastern Europe, the prince, and Epstein himself. How effing disgusting. How gross. Honestly, like, can't these guys just like admit that they're gay and that they just want to do each other and leave all the children out of it? My goodness. That's my spin on it. That's a huge part of it. In 2015, spokesperson for the British royal family stated that any suggestion of impropriety with underage minors is categorically untrue, later repeating the denials. Requests from Virginia's lawyers for a statement under oath from the Duke about the allegations were returned unanswered. Launch of civil lawsuit 2021 and settlement. August 9th, 2021. That's funny. That's her birthday. That's my birthday. That's why I remember. Giuffre filed a civil lawsuit in New York against Britain's Prince Andrew, alleging she was forced to have several encounters with the prince in the early 2000s after being transported by little E when she was 16 and 17 years old. See, when she was 16, so that would mean that in the event that they didn't start grooming her until when they say that they were grooming her, at the end of her being 16, that they would have hooked her up with him right away before she turned 17. I think that they started grooming her when she was younger than 16. And it's for reasons like that. I just think they fudge the freaking numbers all the freaking time. Fuzzy math, as I like to say. Andrew denied Virginia's claims on January 12th, 22. Judge Kaplan rejected Andrew's attempts to dismiss the case, allowing the lawsuit to proceed. February 15th of 22, the parties reached an out-of-court settlement. And see, February 2022 is very close to the same time that Jean-Luc Brunel was Epsteined in his jail cell. Interesting. Very close to that date. Let me write that down to look up. Where'd my notebook go? I don't want to be looking stuff up while I'm trying to read this. So yeah, Ron Eppinger and Jean-Luc Brunel, their death dates, they're both Epstein as far as I'm concerned. As was Virginia as far as I'm concerned. Where were we? The parties reached an out-of-court settlement February 15th, 22, which included the prince making a substantial donation to Virginia's charity. As part of the settlement, Prince Andrew acknowledged that it is known that little E transported countless young girls over many years, and that he regrets his association with little E and commends the bravery of Virginia and other survivors for standing up for themselves and others. Andrew pledged to demonstrate his regret for his association with little E by supporting the fight against the evils of transporting and by supporting its victims. The settlement was an estimated 12 million pounds, I think. And I don't know how pounds translate into dollars. If that's 12 million pounds, might be $19 million. I don't know. I'll check that too, if I remember. Part of which went to the Speak Out Act and Reclaim advocacy charity for survivors of transporting that Virginia had founded. The alleged attempt by Andrew to smear Virginia. So he's getting in trouble for this right now today as we speak. They're all criminals. Yes, they are. Annabes, you know it. On October 18th, oh, that's funny because today's the 20th, and I just said today as we speak. On October 18th, 2025, that's the day before yesterday, which that was Saturday. That was No King's Day. Beautiful. It was reported that Andrew had instructed one of his taxpayer-funded personal bodyguard officers to investigate Virginia. This would include ensuring that he would be provided with her date of birth and social security number in an apparent attempt to dig up dirt on her just before the widely circulated photograph of them together came to light. The next day, the Metropolitan Police announced they were assessing the alleged misuse of police resources. So this would be yesterday, as well as the claim that he pressured the personal bodyguard to dig up dirt on Virginia. Alan Dershowitz allegations and related lawsuits. Virginia claims that little E transported her to lawyer and Harvard law professor Alan D. at least 6 times, the first when she was aged 16. See, again, I don't think they started passing her around like a fruit platter in those first couple of months. I think that they already had their hands on her before she was 16. And then they started passing her around. Gross. He denied the claims. Dershowitz represented Little E in his '08 criminal conviction and helped to negotiate the controversial non-prosecution agreement on his behalf. The claims first appeared in a December 30th, 2014 Florida court filing by lawyers Bradley Edwards and Paul Cassell, which alleged that Dershowitz was one of several prominent figures, including Prince Andrew, to have participated in the intimate violating types of activities with a minor identified as Virginia. The affidavit from Virginia was meant for inclusion as part of the '08 lawsuit accusing the Justice Department of violating the Crime Victims' Rights Act during Little E's first criminal case. Dershowitz vehemently denied the allegations in Virginia's statement and sought disbarment of Edwards and Cassell. He's vicious, as we know, because he sues pierogi guys that don't want to sell their pierogies to him at the farmer's market on Martha's Vineyard just this past summer. It's probably still an active lawsuit, and he, being wealthy and a lawyer, can just destroy a little pierogi business guy. Come on, that's hideous. The lawyers filing the suit, Edwards and Cassell, sued Dershowitz for defamation in 2015. He countersued. The two parties settled in 2016 for an undisclosed financial sum. Following denials by Dershowitz, Virginia stated, "I'm not going to be bullied back into silence." In 2014, Virginia was represented by Stanley Pottinger, whose firm specializes in SA cases involving women and children. Anticipating the challenges that awaited Virginia in accusing extremely wealthy and powerful individuals, Pottinger looked for another lawyer that could match this. At the request of Pottinger, David Boies and his firm, Boies, Schiller, Flexner, began representing Virginia pro bono in 2014. Boies represents several of Little E's accusers. In addition to Boies, attorneys for Virginia include Brad Edwards and Paul Cassell. Launch of civil lawsuit, Virginia versus Alan Dershowitz, 2019. In April of 19, Virginia filed a federal civil defamation lawsuit against, I'm just checking the time, against Alan Dershowitz in New York, with David Boies as her lawyer. The same month, Maria Farmer filed an affidavit in support of Virginia's defamation suit against Dershowitz, which stated that while Farmer worked signing in guests at Epstein's front desk in 95-96, she had regularly encountered Dershowitz at the New York mansion at times when underage girls were present. Man, this is so long. Let me see how much longer it is. It looks like I'm close to wrapping it up. Yeah, I am. I'm close to wrapping it up, but 1 second. I just got to send a text real quick. All right. Additional civil cases, Maria Farmer. Yeah, I just read the part about Maria Farmer, right? I was kind of distracted while I was reading that. Sorry. So I think I left off with this sentence. She had regularly encountered Dershowitz at the New York mansion at times when underage girls were present. Sorry, Freudian slip. Is that where I was, Anna Bees? If you can confirm, I'll just read on as if I'm accurate. In June, Dershowitz filed a motion to dismiss Virginia's suit, which was later denied, and a motion to disqualify Boyce's firm from representing her, which was later approved. Oh, what a dirty rat bastard. Virginia stated in September 2019 that she continued to stand by her claims of misconduct by Dershowitz. Dershowitz accused Boyce of pressuring Virginia to provide false testimony. He is such a twisted rat bastard. In response to which, Boyce sued Dershowitz in November 2019 for defamation. In October 2019, Charles Cooper took over representation of Giuffre in the defamation suit against Allen after a judge ruled that Boyce could not continue as Virginia's lawyer because Dershowitz's claim that she conspired with her attorney to make false claims had turned Boyce into a potential witness. And I'm sure that was all carefully planned out by dirtbag Dershowitz. What a sick scum of the earth. Boyce, and he's probably still like a retired professor at Harvard. He probably still teaches there on occasion, like a visiting faculty or something. Boyce filed a separate defamation lawsuit against Dershowitz, implying that he had pressured Giuffre into making false claims. In 2020, court filing by Dershowitz in the case brought to light that Virginia claimed that she had been assaulted by Ehud Barak after being transported to him by little E. Both Dershowitz and Barak denied the validity of Virginia's claims. All claim, I don't know who that is, Ehud Barak. All claims were dismissed on November 8th, 2022, after attorneys for Virginia, Boyce, and Dershowitz filed joint stipulations and no fees were awarded to either side. Giuffre stated she may have been mistaken in identifying Dershowitz. There you have it. Let's see. I need to just hold on for 1 sec. Sorry. Excuse me, please. All right, sorry about that. Little timeout. And where was I? Let's drink some coffee. I almost spilled it all over myself. So I'm wearing necklaces that I made a couple of years ago. And the earrings, these are some of my all-time favorites. I don't know what possessed me. I just made them right around the time that my son was graduating from boot camp up in Chicago, north of Chicago, Lake Forest. You know, for the Navy, my little hero son, the one with the grand baby. So where was I? Right there. May have been mistaken in identifying Dershowitz. Additional civil cases, Virginia affidavit, 2014. She filed court papers in Florida in January of 15, stating that little E trafficked her to Prince Andrew and Alan Dershowitz. In a sworn affidavit, she claims Jiz worked as Epstein's madame In April of 15, a federal judge ruled that Virginia could not join the Federal Crime Victims' Rights Act lawsuit, and her affidavit was stricken from the case. F that. OMG. These dirty rat bastards. They're going to just burn for all of eternity, aren't they? How horrible. Virginia versus JusticeAtooZ 2015. As a result of Virginia's allegations and JusticeAtooZ's comments about them, Virginia sued JusticeAtooZ for defamation in federal court in New York in September of 15. And that's when her first manuscript was entered into evidence in the lawsuit. And then it was entered into evidence again in a lawsuit, I think, against Dershowitz in 2019. So even though it hasn't technically been published, it kind of has been published haphazardly that way. So this book that is dropping tomorrow is only her second book, the manuscript, her second manuscript. So the first one's not considered a book, it's just considered a manuscript, even though it's, the size of a book, over 140 pages. And then this Nobody's Girl is, I believe, something that she wrote with the stipulation that it be published if and when she passed away. That she didn't want it published when she was still alive because it would have been too dangerous. How horrible to live a life like that you have to write a book to be published after you're offed. Okay. Here we go. Where was I? After much legal confrontation, the case was settled under seal in June of 17, with JusticeAtooZ reportedly paying Virginia, quote unquote, millions. On January 8th, 2024, the court unsealed documents related to this lawsuit, totaling 4,553 pages and revealing the names of over 150 people connected to Little E. Rena O versus Virginia 2021. Rena O sued Virginia for defamation in October 21 in a Manhattan federal court for $20 million in damages. The lawsuit referenced a series of tweets Virginia made, which accused O of helping transport girls for Little E, while O maintained she was a victim who had never helped traffickers. O acknowledged that she introduced 3 young women to Little E, including Marish Chartouni, and that she had taken Virginia shopping for a schoolgirl outfit on Little E's orders. In 2022, in court documents, O accused Virginia of touching her without consent while Little E watched, but Virginia denied the claim. Virginia filed a counterclaim in May 2022, alleging O had cut her during sadomasochistic games done for Epstein. Man, is your mind just bent? Mine is. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff like that goes on undocumented. Ouch, it hurts just to think about it. Second criminal case against Little E. Little E was arrested July 6, 2019 at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey and charged with Rex transporting conspiracy by prosecutors with the Public Corruption Unit of the Southern District of New York. In the indictment, Little E was accused of soliciting massages from underage girls, where the activities became increasingly intimate, and then of enlisting the girls to recruit other underage girls to be victims for pay. U.S. Attorney Berman of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York appealed for other victims of Epstein to come forward. The federal indictment also listed the key role of Little E's paid employees and associates responsible for scheduling victims. 1 month after his arrest, Little E was found deceased on August 10th, 2019, after reportedly hanging himself in his Manhattan prison cell on August 29th, 2019. But we skipped August 19th, 2019, which is the day that Pete Hegseth married his current little wifey, the one who was his boss at Fox News, his producer, who he had an affair with for like 3 years when they were both employed there. And they had a love child while they were still married to their spouses. I wonder if they tried to tell, like if she tried to tell her husband that it was his kid at first or something. I don't know. It's possible. Anyway, they both were married with 3 kids, and the ages of their 3 kids were very young. It's craziness. So yeah, they do have 8. I was like double checking myself the other day because I thought maybe they just have 7, but they adopted one just this year, their 8th child. So they each had 3, and then they had the love child, and then they have the new adopted one. Okay, so sad for those kids. Like, what a happy, healthy family, right? Good luck with that. So on August 29th, 10 days after Kegsbreath's wedding that he had at one of the Deer Leaders national golf courses in Jersey, not the one where Ivana is buried, not Bedminster, but a different national golf course in Jersey that Donnie owns. Anyway, back to this. On August 29th, in the wake of Little E's passing 19 days prior, the case against Little E was closed after District Judge Richard Berman dismissed all charges. Is that heinous or what? Judge Berman expressed support for Little E's accusers, stating that he invited them to speak publicly at a hearing on August 27th, 2019, out of respect for the difficult decisions victims made to come forward. Virginia was among the 16 women who spoke publicly at the hearing, which included Anushka DeGiorno, Sarah Ransom, Jennifer Arazo, I probably didn't say her name right, Shantae Davies, Courtney Wild, Teresa Helm, Marjorie Chartouni. At the hearing, Virginia stated, "The reckoning must not end. It must continue. He did not act alone. We, the victims, know that." Prosecutors signaled that they would continue an investigation for potential co-conspirators. So I want to keep reading because I'm just at the end of that part, but we still have media coverage and appearances, manuscript and memoir, personal life, hospitalization, and death. Hopefully they don't abuse the adopted one. Yeah, absolutely. But just so twisted. All these kids involved in this mess of a family. Sorry, I'm listening, but having to cook for my daughter. Oh, you're fine. Thanks for telling me. I'm glad that you're still here, and it's nice to know that you're still here. Thanks for listening, all of the people that are here live and all of the people that are on the replay group. So why don't I do like I normally do and start at the back and move forward? So I'm going to jump to the end, which is the hospitalization and death. And then if you want me to, I'll go back to the media coverage and appearances, the manuscript and memoir, and the personal life. But let's go to the end because this is so long. On March 31st, 2025, in an Instagram post, Virginia said that her car collided with a school bus traveling at 70 miles an hour, as if school buses travel at 70 miles an hour. Despite being banged up and bruised, she initially went home after the accident, but was subsequently taken to the hospital as her condition deteriorated. I really think she was being held hostage. It's the only thing that makes sense, because this story sure doesn't make sense. And Virginia said she was informed that she had gone into renal failure and had been given 4 days to live. She was later discharged. Her family later said in a statement that police were called, but said that there was no one available to come to the scene. Virginia died by self at her home in Western Australia on April 25th, 2025, at the age of 41. Her father at first accepted the alleged cause of death as suicide, but on May 1st said he thought that somebody got to her. Virginia's Australian-based attorney said she believed Virginia's death was not suspicious in any way. I mean, I would think that you'd have to say that or you'd be next, right? At the time, the BBC noted that there is still much that is not known about Miss Gouffre's last days or her personal circumstances. See, I think to me that implies she was being held hostage. Anyway, so that was a hospitalization and death. Let's go read the personal life part. Following her marriage to Robert Gouffre in 2002, she lived on the central coast of New South Wales for 11 years. Together, they had 3 children, 2 sons, 1 daughter. The family relocated to the U.S. in November of 2013, initially spending time in Florida. I would think that could be really triggering to go back to where she was abused if she was in the same area. And later in Colorado in 2015, the family moved from the U.S. back to Queensland in 2017. In 2020, she moved with her family to Ocean Reef in Perth, Western Australia. The family purchased a farming property in August of 23 after securing the settlement from Prince Andrew. Virginia and her husband reportedly separated in 2024. And who knows the whole story with that? My goodness. Some members of her family said that she had separated from Robert even earlier in August 2023, but he probably wanted the money, man. He wanted access to those millions. When she first raised the subject of divorce, in April 2025, Virginia publicly stated that her husband had physically abused her for many years. Court documents released as part of her litigation with Maxwell indicated that Robert was arrested in Colorado in 2015 and pleaded guilty to domestic violence, for which he was placed on probation. My daughter says there's an Amazon outage, Reddit, Venmo, and Alexa, and many other things. That's at the moment, because yeah, I know at 3 a.m. there was a whole bunch of stuff that had gone on a blackout or a brownout. It wouldn't surprise me if YouTube does that too. It's because these damn e-files are getting so close to the surface, and even if they never do surface, the freak out tells you everything you need to know, right? Absolutely. And her book is being released tomorrow. Oh, that's why Amazon's going down, because people are going to be able to read it if they purchase it online. They'll be able to do that at midnight tonight. OMG. I mean, I wonder if they'll even have it at Barnes & Noble. I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble tomorrow and try to purchase a copy. I already called them today. It's $35. But I'm not going to hold my breath that it's actually going to be released tomorrow either. I figured that it might never happen. Dang. Yes, her book, OMG. Yeah, I think that that's exactly what this is all about. That's like what the damn like No King's Day parade military celebration thing on Saturday was in California. You know, the 250th birthday celebration of the Marines and Navy, unscheduled. Like they had stuff scheduled on the 10th and then stuff scheduled, I think, for next month, but that's all in Philly. But then all of a sudden they had to do that crap. It's all distraction, distraction, distraction. And again, you know, they're trying to create like the chaos and the unrest, and they're trying to instigate the Civil War, and then everybody will be distracted by the Civil War, and Virginia Giuffre will just like fall to the wayside, just like the Twin Towers with Gary Condit and Chandra Levy. This is sus AF. My mind is blown. Yeah, I 100% think that's what it is. I don't think that these things are going to be released tomorrow. The Nobody's Girl. And what does it say in there? Although I do think it's already been released in the UK. I do think so. I think it was released a few days ago in the UK. But we'll see. Let's see. Thanks for the update, man. Anna Bees, you're the bomb. Virginia said Robert was violent again in January 25 when the family gathered for a birthday celebration for one of the kids. So that would be for the little girl, right? Because her birthday was January 10th, I think. For Robert accused Virginia of breaching a family violence restraining order in February, and a court hearing was set. For several months afterwards, she was prevented from seeing her children. Asked for comment by the press days after her car accident, she denied violating any such order and added that she would defend herself against his malicious claim. At the time of her death, she had been in a custody battle for her 3 children with Robert, with whom she was undergoing a divorce. So we just have the 2 more parts, the media coverage and appearances, and the manuscript and memoir. We'll read that part. Virginia's unpublished manuscript, The Billionaire's Playboy Club, describes her experiences with Little E and a man identified as Eppinger. Though never commercially released, the manuscript was filed as evidence during her 2015 lawsuit against JusticeAtooZ and became public in 2019 when the court unsealed the document. Okay, I got it. I thought it was another lawsuit in 2019. Her second memoir, Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice, was co-authored with journalist Amy Wallace. Ooh, Amy Wallace. I hope she's got some damn good security detail. Beginning in 2021, it is scheduled for a posthumous publication on October 21st, 2025. In the last part, the media coverage and appearances. Virginia appeared on a special edition of Dateline NBC with Savannah Guthrie discussing the Epstein scandal along with victims Anuska DiGiorno, Rachel Benavides, Jennifer Arauza, I'm so sorry if I'm saying the names wrong, and Mariski Chartouni and Shantae Davies. I'm sure I'm saying more than one of them wrong. And didn't one of those unalive self allegedly, wasn't one of those Epsteined? Because the one was Epsteined in 2017. And then I think one of these might have been Epsteined in like 2023, like after the jizz crap. court stuff. The special titled Reckoning aired on September 20th, 2019. And I think for Savannah Guthrie was also the one who interviewed Katie Johnson, the other Jane Doe that used Katie Johnson as her alias, who says that she was raped by Little E and Tenacious D both together more than once when she was 13. And that's the one that Barry Cohen completely freaked out about when he was being interviewed by Tara Palmieri. Okay, Virginia was interviewed for the 60 Minutes Australia investigation that aired on November 10th, 2019. In the program, she describes her experiences of being trafficked by Little E and Jiz to have relations with Prince Andrew 3 times in 2001. The first time being in London at Jiz's residence, the second at Little E's New York mansion, and the final occurrence involving multiple girls and the prince on Little St. James. Virginia also gave an interview in October 2019 to the BBC and described her experience of being transported by Little E to Prince Andrew for a panorama special, The Prince and the E Scandal, which aired on December 2nd, 2019. In the program, Virginia directly appeals to the public by stating, I implore the people in the UK to stand beside me, to help me fight this fight, to not accept this as being okay. BBC reporter Emily Maitlis conducted a Newsnight interview with Prince Andrew, where he just buried himself, discussing Virginia's allegations and his friendship with Little E, which aired on November 16th, 2019. The reaction to the prince's conduct during the interview was one of overwhelming disapproval. This, combined with Virginia's public appeal, resulted in a widespread shift of opinion by the British people. The prince resigned from his royal duties on November 20th, 2019. So here we are 6 years later, and he's resigned further. As a number of organizations and charities that he was connected to severed ties. Despite the prince's promises to assist authorities, in January of 20, the attorney Jeffrey Berman stated that Prince Andrew had provided zero cooperation after the FBI and the Southern District of New York had requested to interview him as part of the Little E inquiry. In July of 20, following Maxwell's federal indictment, Virginia was interviewed by Gayle King for CBS This Morning. Virginia and other survivors of Little E's transporting ring were featured in the 4-part documentary series Surviving Jeffrey Epstein, which premiered on August 9th, 2020 on Lifetime. How interesting that it premiered on her birthday. I think I've watched it, but I think I might want to watch it again. So I was going to look up the dates that Ron Eppinger and Jean-Luc passed away. Jean-Luc Brunel. February 19th, 2022. So remember, there was that thing that I was reading that happened on February 15th, 2022. Let me see if I can go back to that real quick. So yeah, 4 days later, he was Epsteined. That was like way back in the beginning of this. January 2022 was when unsealed documents revealed that the settlement amount of the 2009 case was about $500,000. But let's see if I can find that part about February 15th of 2022. Dang, that was long. That was a lot of information. The suit was settled in February of 2022. The suit with Prince Andrew was settled. But what happened on the 15th in 2022? Let's see if I can find that real quick. Thank you for your patience. Damn. It's all out there. Why don't little T followers see it? I know. Denial ain't just a river in Egypt. I know, like when Kylie Rodney went missing, and then the whole like trafficking theory, the transporting theory came into play, and then people were like, "Oh, if only Tenacious D were El Presidente, he wouldn't allow for this." And I was thinking, what do you mean? He's probably the person that she's being trafficked to. In my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. That's what I always thought. Let's see, where are we? We're trying to find what happened in the case on February 15th of 2022. It should be somewhere around here. I could just ask AI to tell me if I have too much trouble finding it. Okay, it was January 9th or January 12th of 2022 when the judge rejected Prince Andrew's attempts to dismiss the case. And here it is. On February 15th of 22, the parties reached an out-of-court settlement, which included the prince making a substantial donation. And blah, 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 blah. And then 4 days later, Jean-Luc Brunel was Epstein in prison in the UK. And then the other one that I think was Epstein was Ron Eppinger, and I wanted to see what date that was. I think that was a very long time ago. Ron Eppinger. FBI records, the vault. Ron Eppinger. So yeah, you can go right to the vault and look that stuff up. Let's see. I don't think he's alive anymore. I think he was Epstein. Let me see. Virginia trafficked Virginia Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre victimized. So does it have it so that you can't even look him up? Does he like not have a Wikipedia page? That's crazy. Let's see. But yeah, he might be scrubbed. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's scrubbed. Like Erica Kurt's life before 2004 or before 2012, basically. She probably only came to the States around 2004. She would have been 16 years old. Because in 2007 was when she was 19, when she won the Miss Arizona Teen that you can hardly find a damn thing about online because it's all been scrubbed. CASHAPP. Let's see. I want to get this information. Giuffre. Victimizer. Still alive. Is Ron Eppinger, Virginia Giuffre victimizer, still alive? Let's see what AI says. That's ridiculous. it says that it doesn't know a Ron Eppinger, basically. As of October 2025, it is confirmed that Ron Eppinger is deceased. Virginia Giuffre stated that she was abused by Eppinger for several months when she was a teenager. Details about him. So I'm thinking that he passed away in like 2002. But here it says conviction in 01. He pleaded guilty to charges of alien smuggling for prostitution, facilitating interstate transporting and money laundering, criminal scheme. He lured women from Eastern Europe. Oh, I don't know, like Erica Franz or Melania. I mean, Melania is another girlfriend that Little E and Tenacious D shared, right? I'm going to guess that that could even include Erica, that she could have been passed around like a fruit platter as well. In my opinion. Okay, let's see. Criminal scheme. He lured women from Eastern Europe to the U.S. with promises of modeling work, then forced them into prostitution. He was sentenced to 21 months in prison. Death. An obituary published by the New York confirms that he died on September 12th of 2025 at the age of 63. What? And that's all? I'm stunned. I was going to be wrapping this up, but I don't know if I can now, Annabise. Maybe Wikipedia is down too. Well, just like you can't look up any of Ivana's previous husbands. You try to look them up and it goes straight to her. And you certainly can't find out anything about the one that may or may not be alive, which was the one that was like a ski instructor that was her friend that she married before she married Tenacious D. I have found information on him not being alive anymore and information that he is still alive. All the others are not alive, all of them. I'm going to guess that the one that passed away 9 months before her, I'm going to guess that he was being poisoned for a long time. He was 49 years old. Allegedly, he died of like liver cancer, heart failure, skin cancer. Let me read because my brain always like gets fuzzy with that. Ivana Trump's last husband's cause of death. It usually will only say two of the three things. So Rossano Rubicondi passed away from complications due to lung cancer in October 2021, less than a year before she passed away. But it wasn't just the lung cancer. It was two other things too. Let's see. So pulmonary embolism. He was 49 years old. So maybe lung cancer, pulmonary embolism, but something else too. What was the other thing? And see, here it says that he reportedly passed away from skin cancer. So he passed away from skin cancer, pulmonary embolism, and lung cancer. Cover all the bases. So he's not just dead. He's really, really dead. OMG. I don't think I am only thinking people on the right are involved in this. I know people on the left are involved also. Absolutely. I mean, we know Clinton for a fact. Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. Maybe Wikipedia is down too. Wow, pulmonary embolism will do it if not treated quickly. But skin cancer and lung cancer. 49 years old. He looked like he was in really good health. Really good health. I have used photos of him in his Speedo swimsuit. I think I did a community post of that not too long ago. But him and Ivana, they had been married, then divorced. The rumor was that they were about to remarry. They'd been living together. They'd also had competed in an Italian version of Dancing with the Stars. To me, it's just very suspicious that not only did her two ex-husbands that were both Italian pass away, the older one, the first Italian ex-husband, I don't think what he passed away from is public. I can look it up. But then the one that she didn't marry, the one that was the first one after her divorce, I think, from Donnie, and they were together for a long time, at least 5 years, and then he passed away right before Christmas in a single car accident in Italy visiting his family. Suspicious as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. Ivana Trump's third husband's cause of death. Because Donnie was her second husband, so this guy was her third husband. Riccardo Mazzucchelli did not have a publicly reported cause of death. Her fourth husband, Rosano, died from complications of skin cancer, it says here. No information is available regarding the third husband's cause of death. And then what about her boyfriend? Italian prince boyfriend. He was literally an Italian prince. It doesn't want to tell me the guy that was literally the Italian prince. Ivana Trump's long-term boyfriend died in a car crash in Italy. Rofredo Gattani died in a car crash in 2005. He was an Italian businessman, former president of the Long Island Ferrari Club. They began dating in 97, so like 8 years. The relationship lasted until his death in a car accident. And it was right before Christmas. It was either a week before Christmas or 2 days before Christmas. Oh, I didn't even know about this one. In 1973, Ivana Trump's romantic interest, the playwright and songwriter Jerry Stady, was killed in a car crash in Czechoslovakia. The accident did not occur in Italy. Well, this is interesting. She might have been in the car with them, but she denies that she was. But you got to remember, her dad was STB. Wow. I did not know about that one. So 73, that would have been before her first marriage, maybe. Ivana Trump's first marriage. That was Alfred Winkelmeyer, an Austrian ski instructor from 71 to 73. Okay, so then this boyfriend was 73. And that's the one that I have seen information that says he's still alive, and I've seen information that he's not alive. And you can't look him up. Let me see what it says. If I say... is Ivana Trump's first husband, Alfred Winkelmeyer, still alive? Winkelmeyer still alive. It doesn't tell you anything. Oh, wait. This says that he died in 1990. This is the first time that I've seen a date. I've only seen that he passed away. So this says that he passed away August 8th, 1990 on something called WikiTree that I've never seen. That's not where I saw it before. So born January 2nd, 1935 in Austria, died at age 55 in 1990, August 8th in Vienna, Austria. Wow. So a lot of times when you look them up, it tries to act, meaning the internet tries to act like he's still alive. That's the first time I've seen an actual death date. Wow. How lucky is that I just happened to pull that crap up? Holy crap, man. So everybody she was with, other than Tenatious D, is deceased. So 3 husbands and 2 boyfriends. All 5 of them deceased. I did screenshot it, Anna Bees. Thank you. OMG. But I wouldn't be surprised if my screenshot gets deleted. Like, I seriously thought that was happening right after I screenshot it. That is so effing wild. And see, right here, it says he may still be alive. No news of his passing has been published on social media platforms. OMG. So they were married when she was 22. And all of these places, it says that he's still alive. OMG. Yeah, and they say that the one that she married before the dear leader, that they had a platonic marriage, as if they never consummated their marriage in 2 years. Right. That is so effing wild. Yeah, usually when you try to look anything up on him, like just now, I looked up Ancestry on him and it said unavailable. That's usually what it says. Or it just kicks you over to Ivana. Wow. That is just mind-blowing that I finally saw that he did pass away at age 55 in 1990. So 1990 was the same year that her father passed away. It was the same year that she got divorced. 89 was the year that helicopter crashed with the 3 Taj Mahal, Trump Taj Mahal executives were on it. And then Donnie's brother, Robert, the one that I looked up yesterday, he filled in for one of them for just like a month and then was just like, I'm out of here. And then the Taj Mahal, I want to say that it went bankrupt before it opened, but maybe it went bankrupt a year after it opened. Let me see. When did Trump Taj Mahal open and when did it go bankrupt? It opened April 2nd, 1990. And then just over a year later, the Chapter 11 bankruptcy, July of 91. But sometimes business guys are planning on going bankrupt like it's a strategic move, like it's a brilliant business move, right? Because people are always like, how could a freaking casino go bankrupt? Like, everybody goes bankrupt at the casino. The casino has everybody's money. But so it went bankrupt the year after it opened. But Ivana's father, I want to say he was only 63 when he passed away, very unexpectedly, right around 1990. When did Ivana Trump's father die? And see, Donnie was really close with Ivana's dad, who allegedly got him into the business. So he passed away October 28th, 1990, 63 years old. He died suddenly from a heart attack. What else does it say about him here in the Wikipedia? You would think that it would have the Czechoslovakian secret police. STB spied on Ivana in the 70s and 80s when she visited her father. I don't know. She could have been an asset. She could have been Donnie's handler, not to be too conspiracy theorist. But man, I feel like I hit the jackpot finding the information about her first husband's date of passing, 1990, around the same time. I want to say the divorce was final in 90 to 91. Let's see, it'll tell me here in the Wikipedia. So yeah, the divorce was final in 90. So 77 to 90. And 90 was the same year that Alfred Winkelmeyer passed away. So her divorce was final. Her father suddenly passed away, and her first husband suddenly passed away. I would say her baby daddy was some bad news, man. Bad news. Everybody he knows passes away. Except him. He must be a robot. So she married Trump when? They were married from 77 until 90. So she was married to Alfred Winkelmeyer 71 to 73. So from the time she was 22 until 24. Then they moved to Canada, I think, or maybe she moved to Austria to be with him because Czechoslovakia was communist at the time and you weren't allowed to leave, I think. But when she married him, she was able to go to Austria, and then she went to Canada maybe after the divorce. But then she had that other boyfriend back in Czechoslovakia that died in 1973. It said that she was in the car with him, but she denies that she was in the car when he crashed. And then when did she meet Donald Trump? So they married in 77 and divorced in 90. So only 13 years. Let's see. So yeah, the way she got to the United States was through living in Canada for a little while and then modeling. And I guess she never was an Olympic skier. That was like a big lie that they told Donnie to try to get him interested in her. So she probably was a plant. Again, the whole modeling thing, right? Man, we just get so freaking gaslit. What was I going to try to look up about her divorce? No, when she met. When did Ivana meet Donald Trump? Ivana was in New York City with a group of models in 1976 when she met Donald Trump, allegedly. Oh, at Maxwell's Plum. I've been to Maxwell's Plum. I talked about it in one of my videos not too long ago. Maxwell's Plum was a super fancy restaurant in New York City that my college buddy took me and some other friends to for lunch with his dad's credit card, because his dad was a Jersey lawyer and they were all rich, and he was just like, you got to eat at Maxwell's Plum, it's the best. And I was completely not impressed, but it had a lot of gold. Now that I'm kind of remembering, it kind of looked like the Oval Office looks now. But Maxwell's Plum closed not that long after Stevie took us all out to lunch there, which was like 1985. No, 1986. 1986, spring of 1986. So then it closed, but then guess where it reopened, Anna Bees? It was a New York City restaurant. I don't know if there's any other Maxwell Plums, but it reopened right down the street from Mar-a-Lago. And they're trying to say that they met at Maxwell's Plum. Ivana was in the city for a modeling job, and Donald approached her and her group of models to help them get a table. OMG. And then joined them. They married a little less than a year later in 1977. Oh, and they lived happily ever after until they didn't. So yeah, Maxwell's Plum restaurant closed in New York City and reopened in Florida. Very interesting. Mar-a-Lago. Yeah, everything happens around there. The iconic New York City restaurant Maxwell's Plum closed in 88, and a reincarnated version was opened in Wellington, Florida by the original owner's daughter, Jenny Oz Leroy, in 2021. And it closed this year. The Florida location, inspired by the original's decor and name, featured a Wizard of Oz theme before it closed in 2025. March of 2025. Well, that wasn't very long. So it was in New York City for 22 years. And then when it opened in 2021, it only stayed open for 4 years. And it's only the two of them. That is crazy. I'm trying to see if it has reopened um, since the Florida one closed. It's weird, the Wizard of Oz theme. I didn't know anything about that. Because here it's acting like it's opened. Well, I guess it was still opened in 2023. It didn't close until 2025. Okay. So that explains what that is. Holy crap, man. My mind is blown over the Alfred Winkelmeyer, Ivana's first husband, 55, 1990. So let me see my screenshot of when it said that what the date was that he passed away. Um, August 8th, 1990. And that was shortly after the Taj Mahal opened. What was the date of Ivana's father passing away in 1990? Let me look that up again. I can't remember if I said it. Ivana Trump's father's death. October 28th, 1990. So Taj Mahal opened like somewhere in the spring, I think. And then the Trump Taj Mahal. And then Alfred Winkelmeyer passed away August 1990. And then Ivana's dad passed away October. The divorce was final, I don't know at what point in 1990, but they were very estranged when he assaulted her in 89, the night before she left for that trip with one of the widows from the helicopter crash. And now here we are on the eve of Virginia Giuffre's posthumous book being available, allegedly available tomorrow, and the internet is dying. A slow death. OMG. I'm going to wrap up because I've been on for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Thank you so much for being here with me, Anna Bees, and others that aren't in the chat but that are here. I appreciate all of you. Let's see. I was just thinking the same thing, modeling. Interesting that there are always models. Yes, it is interesting. It is just quite the cover, it's sort of like the whitewash. It's very generic and it just covers everything. Full of spelling errors today. LOL. I don't care. I don't feel like looking the words up. You're good. It feels like they have been working on getting all of these pieces in place for a very long time. I feel like the Democrats could do more to get little T out of office. So I wonder why they don't. Well, right, Anna Bees. I mean, there's dirt on all of them. I mean, think about Hegseth. We know there's probably more dirt on him than RFK Jr. even. We know for a fact that RFK Jr. is all over those e-files. And then you think of somebody like Magic Mike Johnson, and what, you think there's no dirt on him with all of the repressed homoerotica that he embodies? I mean, my God, does he just like have a face full of Botox, because never does a muscle in his face move? Like, there's no expression. He's completely monotone. Is he AI? He's like homoerotic AI. So yeah, I mean, all these politicians have dirt on them, and they're all being blackmailed, and all of those e-files are Like, you can bet your bottom dollar that Daddy Vladdy's got copies of everything. It's not just the PP tapes. And you know that Elon's all over those e-files too. And Elon's brother, what's his name, Julian or something like that. And then, I mean, my goodness. I mean, I don't think it's quite as bad for these business guys to be involved in the e-files. Of course, it's bad if there's assaults and statutory. That's hideous. But the president of the USA is next level. We know that Bebe's all over those files. We know that Daddy Vladdy's all over those files. We know that there's a bunch of sheiks or Sikhs, I'm not sure how you say it, the Arab guys, they're in those files. So the Qatar guys are in those files. Thus, the $500 billion trillion airplane gift, you know, it's like hush money, right? And Peter Thiel, yeah, thank you. Exactly. He lives with the man. Yeah. And then that douchebag and a half, what's his name? JD. Oh, he's so gross. He's so gross. Yeah, there were some other things I wanted to talk about. Let me see if I still want to try to get them into this video before we wrap up. I might be good with, maybe I'll just wrap up by reading the end of Virginia Giuffre's first manuscript. So I'll start with this. I had to tell my story no matter how shameful it was to even speak about. Putting my shame aside, I had to derive every bit of courage I could sustain, and now I am ready to tell it. The hardest lesson I had failed at learning until later on in my life became my strength, the belief in my inner voice and the ability to speak up. I do have a voice, and now the world is going to hear it in my whispered cries for justice, swept away by a surge of media. With one phone call, I sent Little E's publicist into frenzy. Not to mention the release of the photo showing the first night that Prince Andrew and I shared together that I so happened to unveil for the public to see. I spent too much of my life going out of my mind, waiting for the rescue that never came until it was too late. And then the scars were already embedded deeply within. Thankfully, I am now free from the struggles that nearly destroyed the love inside my heart. I only wish it could be the same for the other victims, not just of Jeff's inflictions, but every person who has ever suffered at the hands of another. Yeah, it's just so horrible that people hurt people and violate people. I'm here to tell you from my own experience that the moon is yours if that's what you want. All you have to do is stand up and take it. That's so cute. It makes me think of It's a Wonderful Life with lassoing the moon. Jimmy, who's the guy who stars in that? Is it Donna Reed and Jimmy, that guy, James, the one that everybody loved. I'll look it up in a second. He's like, I'll lasso the moon for you before they get married. You've seen It's a Wonderful Life, right, Anna Bees? James Stewart. I think it's Donna Reed and James Stewart. Let me see. That is cute. Stand up and take it. If some girl off the streets of Florida like me can stand up against the tyrants that run the deep pockets of our world, then anyone can. Just like I needed to believe that someone stood up for me once, like Robbie did long ago, I now stand up for us, for all us girls, the ones who are still on the streets and think they don't deserve better, or it's an unachievable dream to be entitled to more out of life, for all the beautiful girls who don't see beyond their outside appearance, for all the girls still trapped in enslavement and unable to get out of the abuse that holds them down. But most of all, I stand up for every girl's belief in love, because it is the very savior of my spirit and soul. The end. Written and illustrated by Virginia Roberts. I'm going to look through the whole book. So it's 139 pages, and you can find it on the internet. I'll put a link to it in the description. I hope that it has illustrations in it, the things that she drew. Yes, Stuart. Let me read all the things you wrote here. And by the way, why haven't they arrested any cartel members in their ICE raids? Just regular people abducted. Yeah, good question, Anna Bees. Our leaders in our country are all corrupt criminals on both sides of the aisle. For the most part, I completely agree with that. Yeah, James Stewart, I've seen It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, I hadn't seen it until my adult life. It's one of those classics that everybody should see. For anyone who's watching this that hasn't seen it, it's a really cute Christmas classic. And what was the other thing I wanted to look up? I can't remember the thing I didn't write down that I was going to look up, but maybe it was like Adrian and the other one of Little E's survivors that are no longer surviving. Deceased Jeffrey Epstein survivors. I'm still calling them survivors, even though they're not surviving anymore. Let's see if it says Jeffrey Epstein victims who have committed suicide, allegedly. Yeah, the so many people that have passed away, over a couple of dozen that are connected to this, but the not committed suicide but overdosed, who have died of overdose. That should pull their names up. Carolyn Adriano and Lee Sky Patrick. So Carolyn Adriano was the one in May 2023. So she was the one that was involved in Jiz's trial. And then she just happens to unalive herself. Accidental overdose. And then with Lee Sky Patrick, 2017, it doesn't say that it was an accidental overdose. It just says overdose. So when that happened in 2017, I don't know if she was one of the victims involved in the first non prosecution agreement for little E in the 2010s. If she was 29 in 2017, she would have been 19 in 2007. So yeah, she could have well been involved. Let me ask if AI knows. Was Lee Sky Patrick involved in the first prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein? Lee Sky. So she was 16 when she was abused by little E. In 2008, she contacted one of his lawyers and received a $50,000 settlement, which included a confidentiality clause. She was later subpoenaed to testify in lawsuits against him. Oh, interesting. Wow. I wonder if Marie Villafana is still alive. She was the lead prosecutor who tried to charge little E with the 60 count federal indictments. Marie Villafana. I got to write that down and then we'll sign off and wrap up. And I'll look it up later since I have been dragging on for 2.5 hours. It's nice to have time to hang out with you guys. Marie Villafana. Yeah, it's been really crazy the last couple of weeks with a whole bunch of this, that, and the other, just like stupid stuff getting in the way of my YouTubing. And I really appreciate having the time to be here, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here. Oh, shit, you didn't know that? Most people on the right think these girls were ladies of the night, so what happened to them doesn't matter because they were sinners. You didn't know what, Annabise? I missed that because that was like 6 minutes ago. So right after we were talking about Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life. And then, the thing about the two that overdosed that were involved. So you're probably talking about the one, Carolyn Adriano, that passed away in 2023 after testifying in Maxwell's case. So the other one, Lee Sky Patrick, that passed away in 2017, took a $50,000 non-disclosure settlement in 2008. And then she had been contacted to testify. And yeah, you got Blondie Bondi involved in this crap. Yeah, about that. All right, so I'm going to sign off. Love and light. Have a fabulous rest of your day. Drink your water. Get some sunshine and fresh air. Eat your protein and produce. Lots of veggies. Let's see if I can sign off here. Sending you love.